Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Alligator Sword Dragon Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for May 2020. Been wanting to do a new sort of deck profile on one of the main characters. I decided to focus this time on Joey Wheeler, and one of his go-to monsters, I would say, is the Alligator Sword Dragon. It's definitely one of the overlooked cards in Joey's deck. The only time I can actually recall him making this was in his duel in Battle City against Mako Tsunami, where he fused Baby Dragon and Alligator Sword together to make Alligator Sword Dragon. It actually does have an effect where it can attack your opponent directly, so I wanted to focus on a type of deck that could definitely work towards attacking your opponent directly with some pretty high numbers that the Alligator Sword Dragon can reach for power, and then just go for the easy fusion, something that you can make for this main focus of the deck. It's a really fun deck. I was happy with the results of it all together, so let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the monsters for the main deck. I run 3 Alligator Sword. This is a card that was used by Joey, I would say, quite a lot in the anime. It was his go-to card. I think he equipped a good amount of his weapons when he ran the Hermes spell in Waking the Dragons. All the different weapons that he created, that he equipped on to Alligator Sword. It was used in, like I said, almost all of his Battle City duels as well. Going up, I believe, is one of the cards that he used with Fairy Box. Just one of his avatar cards for sure. With 1500 attack, 1200 defense. Just a normal monster, but still needed for the main boss monster of the deck, being Alligator Sword Dragon. So wanted to run 3 of this for max numbers we can go for. And the other monster needed, definitely I would say one of his more famous monsters, is Baby Dragon. Also running 3 of this. I would say it's all grown up almost in this card, maybe teen years, because Thousand Dragon is the grandpa form of Baby Dragon. But this card, once again, just needed for the fusion play of Alligator Sword Dragon. So having 3 of this and 3 Alligator Swords mean we can go full max power and get out the 3 copies of Alligator Sword Dragon, since we don't have to be limited with the extra monster zone as well for this deck. So having 3 copies of each just definitely helps for the overall play that we want to go for, being the main focus of the deck as well. So 3 numbers for both of these cards all together. For added assistance for the fusion plays, also running 3 King of the Swamps. This just helps for the substitute of any of the proper fusion materials, since you just need Baby Dragon or Alligator Sword to make this card. King of the Swamp can help also search out polymerization, or just cover any of the other monsters we may need if you have Baby Dragon in your hand but missing the Alligator Sword, and vice versa. So 3 of this definitely also needed for sure. And then for the final spot for the fusion material monster searching power in this deck, I was going to go for Rescue Rabbit, like I do in a lot of the other decks, just to help for the overall consistency of some of them out. But I have a good amount of spell search, since both of the monsters are normal monsters for this deck also. So instead, just for a little more assistance on the Baby Dragon side of the deck, I'm also running 3 Mass Dragons. It just lets you summon out a dragon monster when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard by battle. You can special summon 1 dragon type monster with an attack of 1500 or less from your side of the field to your side of the field. So it just has to be 1500 attack or less from your deck, and then you shuffle your deck. You can even summon out Mass Dragon with this card also, but your go-to card is Baby Dragon. Then summoning this gives you one of the fusion materials, so at least with the Mass Dragon you can stall out against your opponent if need be until you go for your fusion play also. But if you want to run Rescue Rabbit, by all means you can swap the Mass Dragon for that in the deck also. It was just another different take for those wanting to go for more of a stall version, since like I said, we do run a good amount of spells to search out the other cards in the deck also. And lastly, to finish off the monsters, like I said, with just the main play in the deck being your go-to Alligator Sword Dragon, we don't run too many monsters, so just a hand trap spot for the final monster spot being 3 Ash Blossom. It's just the most generic, best hand trap I would say to go for to stop plays against your opponent. So 3 of this also definitely does come in handy, and potentially if you did want to run Synchros in the extra deck, it being a tuner as well gives you that option to rely on also. But that is it for the monsters. Like I said, our main play relies on just these two cards in the deck. So if you can open them up in your hand and then go for your fusion cards as well, it's your main go-to play. But for the spells, I'm running 3 Polymerization. It's just the best spell, I would say, to consistently get out your Alligator, Sword, Dragon, being able to fuse them together, and then having other options when we have our fusion monster on the field to go for also. And to get off multiple attacks during the battle phase as well, I am running 2 Defusion, just the quick play spell. As long as, Baby Dragon and Alligator Sword are both in your graveyard, you'll have the option to defuse after attacking your opponent directly with your Alligator Sword Dragon, and then also be able to attack 2 additional times with Baby Dragon and Alligator Sword on the field also. And one of my go-to cards with all the fusion-reliant decks are the 2 fusion recycling plants, just being able to discard 1 card once per turn to add polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and once per turn during the end phase, you can target 1 monster in your graveyard that was used as fusion material for the fusion summon of this turn and add to your hand. So if you have multiples of Alligator Sword or Baby Dragon in your hand, just being able to recycle the other material back into your hand to make a second copy of Alligator Sword Dragon next turn definitely does come in handy. Plus the 1 terraforming. I'm only running 2 copies of Fusion Recycling Plant. I feel it's all you need. Other than that, it gets a little cloggy since it's not a search power card. It doesn't have any other benefit aside from the search power and already having one set up on the field. Most of the time, if I open up a second one, it'll just be the discard cost for the other Fusion Recycling Plant. And for more recycle power for the normal monsters that I run in the deck, I'm running 2 Dark Factory of Mass Production. With this one, you select 2 normal monsters from your graveyard, add them to your hand. So more recycle power. If you have the 2 polymerizations in your hand, you already went for the fusion play. But an additional one, you could potentially get out your 2 Alligator Sword Dragon, which then you can attack your opponent directly as long as the requirements are met also. So 2 of this is just another added plus for sure. Along with the 1 fusion recovery, along with the fusion recycling plant, along having this just helps for more added power, since with recycling plant you have to use it at the end of the turn, but having the 1 fusion recovery can also come in handy just for that add back power. If you wanted to mix and match the numbers of Dark Factory, Mass Production, and fusion recovery, you can change back and forth depending on how many of each card you want to run in the deck also. But for more of a power play to help with our Alligator Sword Dragon, I also run 2 Fusion Weapon. This card can only be equipped to a fusion monster of level 6 or lower. Increase the attack and defense of the equipped monster by 1,500 points. So your Alligator Sword Dragon is level 5. So just being able to attack directly against your opponent with a monster that is buffed up by 1,500 points means you can hit 3,200 damage. Definitely a big plus for sure there. And then just putting it at 3,200 just makes it that much more difficult for your opponent to hit over it. And if they do switch it to defense or something like that, it still has 3,000 defense, since Fusion Weapon adds that additional strength also. If you wanted to run 3 copies of Fusion Weapon, you can try taking out the 1 Fusion Recovery I was running to run a 3rd copy of this card. But for more normal summon search, I also run 2 Painful Decision. This was my card that decided me against running Rescue Rabbit. You send 1 level 4 or lower normal monster from your deck to your hand, not to your hand, to the graveyard, and then add 1 card with the same name as the chosen card from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Painful Decision per turn, but with 1 copy going to the graveyard, then also 1 being added to your hand, it just gets rid of 1 search card for Rescue Rabbit, which is why I decided to run Mass Dragon instead. But being able to add that specific card, setting up another one in your graveyard to it be potentially added back to your hand to reuse, I would just say it was much quicker that way to rely on. With Rescue Rabbit, if you don't have the polymerization card, then you have to go for the other extra deck play, which would be an Exceed play or a Link play. I just prefer the fusion play, and having this search just means I have more other search open up for searching out polymerization. And I also run 3 Unexpected Die with the last copy remaining in the deck after using Painful Decision. Just an easy special summon onto the field without even having to take up your normal summon. Just an added benefit for sure. And to finish off the spells, I run the 1 Monster Reborn, just more special summon options of resources in the graveyard, and the 3 Call by the Grave, just to help stop my opponent's hand traps, whether they want to Ash Blossom my search for Painful Decision, or just, all together the special summon of Unexpected Die, or just, anything else that could negate the effect of a monster on the field, effect failure, you name it. This card definitely does help for that also. And for the traps, the only trap I'm running in the deck is 3 DNA Transplant. We'll get to the effect of Alligator, Sword, Dragon, but it's definitely important that your opponent's attribute of their monster meets a specific requirement. Otherwise, Alligator, Sword, Dragon cannot attack your opponent directly. So this being able to change it to the required attribute just helps so you can attack your opponent directly with your go-to fusion monster. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. The boss monster. We are running 3 Alligator, Sword, Dragon. You need Baby Dragon and Alligator, Sword, Dragon to make this card. We've already said that plenty of times. This deck profile. This card can attack your opponent directly if the only face-up monsters they control are Earth, Water, or Fire. So as long as they have one of those 3 attributes, this card can attack your opponent directly, being a wind attribute itself. I'm guessing that's why it wasn't one of the other requirements. Definitely a strange mix-up. If your opponent has any of the other attributes, this card can't attack directly. That's why we rely on DNA Transplant, but still being 3 of the 6 main attributes we have in the game, it's still a go-to card that can easily attack your opponent directly, even if they don't have the power of DNA Transplant, changing the attributes of their monsters on the field. And with cards like Fusion Weapon, just being able to attack your opponent directly for that damage is your go-to play in the deck to dwindle down your opponent's life points to 0. For some other fusion options, I am also running 1 First of the Dragon. You can bump this up to additional numbers. It just needs 2 normal monsters to make this truly powerhouse fusion monster. You can remove some other link monsters in the deck to add more copies of this card. But for some of the other cards, we're just running more generics in the deck to fill up the spots. So 2 link spiders with plenty of normal monsters. It just helps for an easy special summon onto the field to give us more resources to go into our Nightmare engine, which I'm running 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, and 1 Nightmare Unicorn. You need the different name monsters, so the link spiders help to make those also. And also the 1 Predaplant Vert Anaconda for more of the polymerization plays. You don't really use your life points for anything else in this deck, so it's an added plus for sure. And then for the Exceed monsters, I run 1 number 47 Nightmare Shark and 1 Leviair. When you can use the Baby Dragon and also the Mass Dragon to Exceed into these, it helps a lot of times also. And then for the Alligator Swords, I run the 1 Tornado Dragon, the 1 Utopia of the Lightning, and the 1 number 39 Utopia to make the Utopia of the Lightning. But that is it for the deck profile. Your main go-to play will always just be opening up enough of the search power, whether it be just through the methods of the Fusion Recycling Plant or any of your other search cards, to get out your Alligator Sword Dragon and then equip it with your fusion weapon. Like I said, this is your main powerhouse play you want to go for. Swinging direct at your opponent for 3,200 life points, and if you can do this 2 other times, dwindle their life points down to 0 for a game. And like I said, just searching out the required cards is your go-to play each and every time with this deck. It's a lot of fun. I definitely had a lot of fun making this deck. I considered mixing some other cards of Joey's together, but I figured I'd save those for other deck profiles. I really do like when I can focus on just the 1 specific card for the deck. In this case, 3 for Joey, since he ran all 3 in his deck during Battle City, and I'm sure some other times as well through the anime. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.